Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that will leave you speechless. Amelia never imagined her marriage would become a cage where her very existence was diminished, her spirit crushed beneath the weight of her husband's cruel words, because when she married Daniel, a man admired for his wealth, charm, and striking good looks, she thought she had secured love and safety. Yet soon after their vows he revealed a darker side, one where his admiration turned into disdain, his tender words hardened into mockery, and his smiles faded into cold sneers, and as days became months, he began calling her ugly, plain, and unworthy, not only in the privacy of their home but even in the presence of his friends, comparing her to glamorous women who surrounded him at his business events. And Amelia, coming from a humble background, having grown up in a small town where beauty was measured not in makeup or gowns but in kindness and sincerity, didn't know how to fight back, so she endured the humiliation in silence, convincing herself that one day he might see her heart and change. But Daniel never did. Instead, he grew harsher, his words sharper, his indifference colder, and his family, emboldened by his contempt, joined in the mockery, whispering that she wasn't fit for the wealthy circle they moved in, that she was too simple, too plain, too invisible, and every night Amelia cried silently on her pillow, questioning why love had abandoned her so completely. Yet deep down she carried a flicker of strength, a whisper of resilience that refused to die. And that ember of courage finally began to glow the day Daniel's company announced its annual charity gala, the most prestigious event of the year, where the rich and powerful gathered under dazzling chandeliers to flaunt their wealth, where women shimmered in sequined gowns and men paraded in tailored suits, where reputations were made and destroyed in whispers that echoed through crystal glasses of champagne. And Daniel, as one of the main sponsors, had to attend, but he told Amelia coldly, "You'll come, but don't embarrass me. Stand in a corner where no one sees you." And though the words stung like knives, Amelia decided in that very moment she would no longer remain invisible, no longer shrink beneath his cruelty. She would stand in the light and let the world see her for who she truly was, not what he labeled her to be. And so, quietly, without telling Daniel, she reached out to an old college friend, Sophia, a kind-hearted designer who had always believed in Amelia's inner beauty. And when Sophia saw the tears brimming in Amelia's eyes as she confessed her pain, she hugged her tightly and whispered, "They don't deserve you, Amelia, but tomorrow night, the world will know your worth." And together they worked tirelessly, selecting a gown unlike anything Amelia had ever worn before, a flowing masterpiece of midnight blue silk that hugged her figure gracefully, adorned with delicate crystals that shimmered like stars against the night sky. And with the gown came soft waves in her hair, a touch of makeup that enhanced her natural features rather than masking them. And as Amelia gazed at her reflection in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back, not because she looked different, but because for the first time in years she saw herself with dignity, with strength, with the confidence she had buried beneath years of scorn. And when the night of the gala arrived, Daniel, smug in his tailored tuxedo, didn't even glance at her before stepping into the glittering ballroom filled with music, laughter, and the hum of conversations, assuming she would trail behind quietly as always. But when Amelia entered moments later, a hush fell over the crowd, eyes turned, whispers rippled like waves, and the grand chandelier's light caught the sparkle of her gown, making her appear as though she had stepped from a dream. And suddenly the same people who had dismissed her before were captivated, stunned into silence, as though the room itself held its breath. Even Daniel, halfway through greeting a group of business partners, froze mid-sentence when he caught sight of her, his jaw tightening, his eyes widening in disbelief, for the woman he had called ugly, plain, unworthy was now the very embodiment of grace and beauty, and the cruel certainty he had held about her shattered in that instant. But Amelia did not look his way. Instead she walked with quiet elegance across the room, her head held high, her smile serene, and men she had never met approached with compliments, women watched with envious eyes, cameras clicked, and whispers grew into admiration. Who is she? Some asked, and others, recognizing her, gasped, "That's Daniel's wife. How could he hide someone like her?" And Daniel, consumed with both jealousy and pride, rushed to her side, gripping her arm tightly as if to reclaim possession, forcing a smile as he whispered through clenched teeth, "What are you trying to prove?" But Amelia, steady and calm, replied softly, "Nothing. This is who I've always been. You just never cared to see." And those words cut deeper than any insult he had ever thrown, for in them lay the truth he had long denied. And the evening continued with Amelia stealing the spotlight effortlessly, not only because of her appearance but because of her poise, her intelligence, and the warmth with which she conversed with influential guests. And when she was unexpectedly asked to deliver a short speech on behalf of the sponsors, Daniel panicked, fearing she might embarrass him. But Amelia stepped to the stage with quiet confidence, her voice steady as she spoke of kindness, resilience, and the importance of valuing people for who they are rather than how they look. And her words resonated deeply, drawing thunderous applause, some even wiping tears. And at that moment, under the glittering lights, Amelia's transformation was complete. Not into someone new, but into the woman she had always been, finally revealed to the world. And when she descended from the stage, Daniel tried desperately to win back her favor, praising her beauty, whispering promises he had never kept before. But Amelia simply looked at him, her eyes no longer filled with pain but with clarity, and she said, "I was never ugly, Daniel, I was never plain. The only blindness in this marriage was yours." And with those words, she walked past him, leaving him standing hollow in the center of the crowd, his pride broken, his arrogance stripped away, as the world he once controlled now turned its gaze on Amelia, the woman he had underestimated, the woman who no longer needed his approval. And though he called after her, begging for forgiveness, she did not turn back, for she had already stepped into a new chapter of her life, one where her worth was undeniable, one where she was free from his cruelty, one where she could finally live with dignity. And as the gala ended, everyone who had witnessed the night knew they had seen not just a transformation of beauty but a triumph of spirit, a reminder that true elegance shines from within, and that no cruelty can dim a soul that chooses to rise. And Amelia, once mocked as plain, walked away as a queen in her own right, while Daniel was left to drown in regret, realizing too late that he had thrown away the greatest treasure he would ever have. And as she stepped into the cool night air, the stars seemed to bow to her strength, whispering that her journey had only just begun. And somewhere deep in her heart, Amelia smiled, not because the world finally saw her, but because she finally saw herself.